Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be another poetry review video. We're going to be looking at DKMH by Dacre Montgomery. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so before we begin, just a tiny bit of housekeeping. When I've done these videos before, I don't think many people realise that this is a book review rather than just the poetry. So I do look at the poetry, but the way I do my videos is I much prefer to look at the book as a whole. So if you're here just for the poetry, then head down into the description. There'll be some timestamps and you can skip I talk about the formatting of the book. I go through the cover, the introduction, all of that stuff. So if you're just here for the poetry, please do check out the description below. Another bit of housekeeping: the channel is experiencing a great upward trend at the moment. So if you like this video, if you appreciate this video, please do hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds, it's completely free, but you have no idea what a help it would be. Let's get this channel to the top of the poetry niche. I have set myself the target of 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit notifications, turn them on, should I say, hit like, and if you've got time, I love hearing from you guys, so please do leave a comment. So with all that being said, let's talk about DKMH by Dacre Montgomery. For those of you who don't know, Dacre Montgomery plays Billy in Stranger Things. He was also in the Elvis movie. I think he played one of the producers, if I remember correctly. He's a phenomenal actor. Now, how did I first find out about DKMH? It started out as a podcast, and it is phenomenal. So I did my best not to be biased coming into this book and doing this review, but I have to say the podcast, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's also called DKMH. It's on Spotify, all the big streaming services, right? If you haven't already, you have to check it out. It's amazing. It's so good. It's so nice to listen to. It's so well produced. It was actually the reason I decided to dip my toes into this medium, the recording. Although I'd done YouTube videos before, it's the reason why there is an album for The Early Hours, my book, The Early Hours. It also has an album, literally solely because Dacre did his podcast of poetry, and it inspired me that much. I thought I would give it a go as well. So if you haven't already, check out the podcast. That came long before the book. I think there are 2 seasons now. I hope that he decides to record an album, just so because at the time there wasn't a category at the Grammys for spoken word album, and if there was, I have no doubt he would have won it. So yeah, but we're here to talk about the book. Now, as always, I'm going to start with the cover. I really like the cover. There's a great interview, I'll leave it in the description. There's a great interview with Dacre on YouTube. Again, I'll leave it in the description. I forget what channel it's on. It's on a bookstore channel. Very interesting to listen to. I really like the cover because it's so minimalist, if you like, and I don't want to repeat what Dacre says about the cover, so go ahead and check out the interview. But essentially you've got a sphere. I know he said he didn't want, he wanted it to be, oh, there's someone around me talking. I thought my phone was going off. He wanted it to be ambiguous. He wanted it to be up for interpretation by the reader, but essentially that's what you've got. I'll tell you who designed the cover as well. Dove Neon, David Stenbeck. Again, he talks about it in the interview, so do check out the interview after this review. I won't read, normally I read the blurb and stuff, but the intro to this, the introduction, is quite lengthy, and I really want to read the whole introduction. Purely because I've gotten to know my subscribers, and I know that the introduction is going to speak to a lot of them. So it's quite lengthy, bear with me. Again, if you're not here for the full book review, just go and check the timestamps in the description. But allow me to read the introduction, because again I think it's quite relatable to a lot of you guys. So, my entire life I had felt fragile, overexposed, especially as a child. I felt I had a softness, like I had no shield from the emotional intensity of the world, both in a good way and a bad way. I felt profoundly affected by even the smallest of things. I suffered from terrible anxiety. I knew not how to harness this energy. The energy I would later discover was the most powerful and valuable thing in the entire world, especially as an artist. You know, all this emotion and as he says, energy. When I was younger, I didn't have the outlets that I have today. I lacked work ethic. I didn't play sports or exercise. I had no independence to discover what these feelings meant. Granted, that discovery has manifested itself in different ways over the years. I was a late bloomer. At 17, I discovered something and partying. YouTube has been coming down hard on this channel recently with demonetization, and I'm not even sure what I am and what I'm not allowed to say at this point. So there's a couple of words coming up that I'm just going to not say, because I need to monetize my videos, of course. So yeah, I discovered something and partying, an outlet I thought would be useful. But time and time again, I found myself anxious the next day, even after one drink. The dimmed my light. While others chased the feeling of ecstasy through outlets like something, something and something, I have always felt like I could achieve that feeling without the aid of substance. In school, I could talk about music and architecture, film and design, and goosebumps would ripple across my skin. I felt like I could self-induce that feeling of ecstasy. Though epiphanies would not come daily until I was older, I felt as though I had a bottomless pit of passion. I would lock myself in my room and watch film after film. I lived my childhood largely through the escapism of cinema, and what I didn't know then, but came to know as manifestation, something I am a firm believer of. Love me a bit of manifestation. My imagination ran wild and I started to harness. Like a sorcerer, I started to use the energy gifted to me, the energy that had me in fits as a child, the energy relationships with those around, the energy that had given me sleepless nights or dysfunctional relationships with those around me, those who had called my bluffs, bullied me, or put me down. I started to use their energy. The negative energy and the light in my life both fueled me. My OCD manifested itself in my room, meticulously cleaning house. Although my OCD was dysfunctional, I started to set goals and work out. I started to harness this energy. I manifested and I imagined other worlds more and more. When I first fell in love, I fell hard, like an asteroid the size of Africa, breaking the atmosphere and pummeling 1,000,000 miles an hour toward the surface of the earth. I obsessed, because I am obsessive over everything. The first love brought fire and I raged. I loved, I burned. Melancholy hits me hard. Sentimentality strikes deep. It hurts me. I feel so affected by everyone and everything. I train hard to shut it out sometimes, and other times I feel vulnerable and I use it, in my acting and in my life. I love to dive deep sometimes, and depression has hit hard more than once, and I stayed longer than I would have liked. Like I said, when I'm happy, it's ecstasy, and when I'm sad, it's a dark force that I have let reaper me. I'd never written a thing before, so poetry had a roundabout way of injecting itself into life. I'd been reading scripts for 2 years and had become increasingly interested in story and structure and words. The beautiful power of description. Some of my favourite writers are gifted with emotional engagement, and they are word wizards, master craftspeople of the art of dicing up the meat of the English language and expertly serving it on platters of tears and joy to the masses. Each day for about 2 months I went to the same coffee shop and I studied our language. Little did I know at the time this was to become another coping mechanism. As a cook finds solace and meditation in cooking, I was finding my ingredients for a fruitful alleviant of the pressures and wonders of my world. I never wrote a thing though. I guess in hindsight my body was waiting for my world to shift and ground to shake, for that meteor to crest the horizon and to make meat of my heart. I was waiting to bathe in electricity and to be shattered like glass, to wonder, to ask, to fall. Not long after, I was, deeply. And it goes on, but I thought that was really nice. I thought that was really quite relatable for a lot of us. So that's the introduction. Now, let's quickly talk about formatting. To be honest with you, I understand it's quite a modern book. It's got quite a modern vibe to it. The art is quite modern. And I understand that they were trying to go with that for the text as well. But for me personally, I probably wouldn't have chosen this text. There's something about it. There's something about it that doesn't feel right. But again, all of this is very subjective, and I'll say it at the poetry section because some people might not even be watching this bit. They might have skipped to the poetry. But for me personally, I don't quite like the font, and I don't entirely know why. But I understand that they're going for a more modern feel rather than, you know, the traditional sort of, as I always say, Garamond, you know, the font that you usually see in a book. But for me, I don't know why. I just don't like the font. It feels, I hate to say it, I do genuinely hate to say it, and I don't know if it's the right word, but it feels very, I don't know, like the sort of stuff you'd see on oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to be too nice. Basic is the word I want to use, but not basic. It just feels like the type of font that is on everything as soon as you open up a Word program, or if you're designing something on Canva. It's just not a font that I would have used, but I get why they used it. And I hate that I have to say basic. It's not the word I want to use, but it's the only word I can think of for now. I don't know if the camera light's going to let you pick up on that, but you can pause and zoom in if you like, or buy the book. I would recommend getting the book, but we'll come to that. So it's split into 4 sections. You've got fear, you've got love, anxiety, and spirit. And I've chosen a poem, my favourite poem for each section, to read at the end of the video. So the font, we've done the font. I have to say, I say it in every video, and I don't understand how I've gotten hate for saying this, but there you go. I have received some hate about this. Something to do with toilet, my use of toilet paper came up. But anyway, as you guys know, I have a thing about the amount of space that is left on a page. In terms of resources, you know, resources are finite. We're in a terrible state, the world. We need trees to live, literally. They take away all the carbon monoxide, but that's not what this channel's about. But you know, it wouldn't be fair if I mention it in all the other videos and not in this one, because I'm a fan of Dacre and I'm a fan of his work. So I have to say, you know, 2 lines to a page, I'm not a fan of. I think that we can put smaller poems on the same page of each and they still stand out. I know a lot of people argue that, you know, blank space is still part of the poem and stuff, and I don't subscribe to that. If you do subscribe to that, fine. I'm not going to argue with you about it, as I have done previously. It's not for me. I think we can have multiple poems on a page. If the poem's good, it will still affect people without having so much space around it. So sorry, Dacre. I have to be fair. I've said it in all my other review videos. Just because I'm a fan of your work, I have to point it out. Another thing I'm going to point out are the illustrations. So we have the sort of, you know, these illustrations. Again, I have no idea if the camera's picking that up in focus and exposure, because it's a big bright white page. It's saying it's overexposed, but hopefully you can see If I hold it still, Adam, hopefully you can see it. It's a very common illustration style that we see in all of our poetry books these days. I'm not saying it's bad illustration, I'm just saying I've seen so much of it, it doesn't affect me anymore. What I loved about Megan Fox's collection were the illustrations were so unique to that book, and I love to see that. Again, illustrations aren't bad, but you know, it's very, I think Rupi Kaur introduced us to this style of illustration, and you know, there are such a thing as trends in this world, of course there are, but yeah, I'm so used to seeing these illustrations in poetry books now that I don't tend to pay much notice to them, which is terrible, because an artist, which is very much the artist, who's the artist? It's on here somewhere, Sam Corlett. I'm not saying they're a bad artist, I'm just saying I don't pay attention to it anymore because it's in almost every poetry book, which is a shame. I would have liked to see something more unique. So, we've done illustrations, we've done type font, we've done the spacing. All in all though, with the cover as well, the cover is a big part of it. All in all, it's a very tidy book. It's a very, if I wasn't so hung up on these sort of empty pages, I would quite like the way the book is designed. It's a tidy book, it's neat, and there's nothing that kind of stands out that makes me mad, except perhaps ever so slightly the font. So that's the formatting. Next, we're going to talk about the poetry itself. Now, again, I listened to the podcast before this book was even a thing. The podcast came out first, and this came out a couple of years after, I do believe. When was it first published? I believe it was last year or the year before. Time goes so quick now, I can't keep up. No, it's at the back in this one, isn't it? 2020, okay, so 4 years ago. By the way, yeah, it's published by Andrews McMill Publishing. So I really, poetry. Now, I have to start by saying, and this goes to the whole book, art is subjective. What I like, other people doesn't like. What other people like, I don't like, for the most part. That's okay. It's okay to have a different opinion. And if I say there's something about this book that I don't like, and you disagree with it, I mean, it's your own prerogative, but that doesn't mean that you have to unsubscribe. It doesn't mean that I think you're foolish for actually liking stuff that I don't like. And similarly, I would hope that you wouldn't think I'm foolish for liking stuff that you don't like. We live in a world now where if we have differing opinions, it's the be all and end all. It's the end of the world. It's okay to have different opinions. It's what makes the world exciting. If we all had the exact same opinion, which seems to be the path we're going down, it's a very boring place to live. So if I say I don't like things, don't take it personally. I don't think any less of you for liking things different, and please don't think anything less of me for liking something different to you. It's okay. So with that being said, let's move on to the poetry. I love listening to Dacre's poetry. I love listening to it. He's an actor, so he performs it very well. And I would love to have a conversation with him and ask him whether he writes for the page or he writes to listen to it. He writes it to be performed, which would I would imagine be a natural instinct being an actor. Because the reason I say that, sometimes when I read this, some of the rhyming kind of took me out of the experience, and I thought, oh, okay, were you rhyming there just for the sake of rhyming? But that's when I'm reading it on the page. When I'm listening to it, it doesn't stand out. It doesn't sort of jolt me out of the experience. He reads it very well. So that's one thing I would say about the poetry. Sometimes it feels like there are rhymes in here for the sake of rhyming, and it doesn't quite flow naturally, but when he reads it, it is like chef's kiss. It's so beautiful. Please go and listen to it. If you do anything from this video, go and listen to it. It's amazing, and the artistry that has gone into the album or the podcast is just brilliant. Again, watch the interview, which will be in the description down below. He talks about the experience of putting it all together. That's really the only thing that sort of jarred me ever so slightly, is sometimes the rhyming stood out. What's great about this book, what's really great about this book, is that it's done in such a way, I don't know, consciously or just that's just Dacre's natural style and talent, is that you can get through, if you wanted to, if you're having a bad day, you can get through this book cover to cover very, very quickly. You can just read it comfortably. Again, if you're having a bad day, throw yourself on the bed, pick this up and just read it very, very quickly, and it's an enjoyable experience. However, what's really, really great about this is the opposite is also true. If you are, in the mood for really sitting down and dissecting poetry, this collection also works for that as well. Each poem, if you really sit down with it and take your time line by line and really ask yourself what each line is saying, you can get completely lost in the world of this book. And I say that trying to connect to what Dacre said about the cover and kind of really gripping the reader and bringing them into this world, this book, the world of this book. It's very true. If you want to sit down, go line by line, really study it, analyze it, you can also do that too, and get lost in the poetry. So I don't know if that was done on consciously. If it was, that's genius. Otherwise, it's just natural sort of talent. So depending, it doesn't matter which mood you're in. If you find yourself on your bed, this will be a good book to pick up and go through. So with all that being said, I'm gonna read my favourite poem from each section, and then we'll sum up the whole book. I couldn't tell you the name of the poem because although I do believe they've got titles, at least in the podcast they've got titles, in the book they're all untitled. So, which section is this? This is the fear section. I did a lot of work to get here. Battle ropes, crisscross, in and out of frame. Right, left, robbery, theft. You robbed me of a childhood, innocent and free. You robbed and bribed me of my naivety. For the record, I like the rhymes in this poem. They come naturally. I'm not talking about this poem in particular when I said about sometimes the rhymes took me out of the experience. But I like that one. Let me read it again. The battery just died, so I'm a little bit flustered because I had to run in, get a new battery and then continue filming, so that might be why. Let me read that again. I don't feel like I did that justice. I did a lot of work to get here. Battle ropes, crisscross, in and out of frame. Right, left, robbery, theft. You robbed me of a childhood, innocent and free. You robbed and bribed me of my naivety. That was a better reading, if I do say so myself. Okay, my favourite poem in the love section. I'd join the Scouts just to learn about knots, so I could undo every ball I ever made. I'd be able to undo the ones in your stomach, the ones that give you pain, and those ones wrapped up in your brain. So the next one, I believe, is anxiety. The section anxiety. He wakes in the middle of the night. His heart begins to fight with his mind. Fallacy became reality. Reality became sanity. Sanity strained, 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 strained. To maintain his head. Head was an atlas. Atlas broke his spine. Then his mind. And then last section is spirit. Take me back so I can hold it. It is time, fine like sand. It dances and falls through my hand. Take me back so I can feel it feel meeting a stranger. So those are my favourite poems from the book. So to summarise, would I recommend picking up DKMH? Yes, I would. No, okay, yes, I love the podcast / album, but I didn't let that reflect my opinions of the book. They're two different mediums. Yes, there are very small, minuscule things that I personally would change, but you guys watching this, there will be people out there who would be like, Adam, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's perfect. But that's okay, you know, as artists, we're always going to look at things and be like, oh, I'll do that differently. Oh, I'll change that. And that's okay. It's okay to... This is the message I really want to get out to you guys. I stress it when I do my Conversing with Poets live stream. It's okay to be of differing opinion. That's what makes the world so exciting. So just because I don't like the font, you may enjoy it. Just because some of the rhymes didn't do it for me, you might think, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Again, when Dacre performs it, it doesn't stand out at all. So maybe it's just me, and maybe I might change my opinion tomorrow. You know, maybe it's just the way my brain feels today. But yes, I would recommend picking it up. I was thinking about these videos and whether I should recommend things because art is so subjective. So put it this way, do I regret buying it? No, I don't regret buying it. So take that as you will. So that's my thoughts and my review of the book, DKMH. It's a very neat and tidy book, very modern book, and that's great. It's a you know, yes, it's got the same style illustrations, but it is also a separate... It separates itself from my other modern collections on the shelf. So now I'm just rambling. Okay, thank you so much for watching, guys. My name's Adam Gary. As I said at the start of this video, the channel is really experiencing an upward trend, and it's really exciting me. It makes me want to get back into YouTube and post regularly for you guys because I'm receiving that positive feedback. So please, it takes 2 seconds, but if you do like these videos, let me know by hitting that like button, subscribing, turning on notifications, and if you do have the time, I do appreciate every comment I receive. Obviously on the bigger videos, the more popular ones, I can't possibly go through all the comments and reply, but I certainly do my best to reply to comments on newer videos, so please do that. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, happy writing, and I'll see you soon, my friends, Gary Goals, and fellow poets. See you later.